Hey, good morning, afternoon, or evening, good people, wherever you are, wherever you happen to be, and however we're together. Thanks for being here, and welcome to 2025. I'm Dave, and this is Dave's Head. So, what's in my head? First of all, happy 2025. Like I said, we have made it to another year. I feel like every time I kick off a season, it's a new year because it's a new year. But there's so much to catch up on because we don't do an episode in December, birthday month. We don't do it in January, kind of recouping and getting the year started off right. So there's always a lot to catch up on, and so I try not to do a ton in the first episode because there's just so much to talk about. A lot has happened since we were last together for the season finale episode or season 5, and I want to start with just a little bit of recap. And so, obviously, December is my birthday month, um, and New Year's happens, and Christmas happens, and Hanukkah, and so many holidays. But my birthday was a beautiful, enjoyable thing. Started with a surprise trip to Puerto Rico. My TO surprised me with a trip. Neither one of us had been to Puerto Rico before, but she surprised me with a trip to Puerto Rico to spend a couple days there. Had a great, amazing time. Did some golfing, surprise golf trip or a golf day. Drank a lot. At least the first day, drank a lot, and then I think the second day too. And then kind of took off drinking a little bit. Beautiful restaurant, beautiful view. Definitely want to go back. Nice short flight, from up here in Wilmington, Delaware, straight shot to Puerto Rico. Beautiful weather, right on the beach, Airbnb, A plus plus, dude, okay, A plus plus, all that stuff for TL. Surprised me with the birthday trip to Puerto Rico, but that was actually a couple days before my birthday, a week or so before my birthday. Might have been 10 days. Um, my actual birthday, there were plans, and went and got a haircut. I don't go to the barber that often. I do my own thing. I shave myself. I groom myself. If I look a little rough right now, it's because I haven't shaved since before the playoffs started. Basically, since my birthday. A little bit of superstition going there with the Eagles and the playoffs. We'll get to that in a second. Trust me. You can see what I'm rocking today if you're watching on YouTube or Spotify video. It's a Philly thing. There's more to it, but you can't see it in the view. But there were plans for my birthday. Went to the barber, got a nice cut. Um, Went to happy hour. Did it kind of a short notice happy hour. Invited some friends. They met me at a bar. I kind of got there first. A couple people arrived, and then suddenly everybody kind of arrived. The next thing you know, I'm doing shots, and so got back home. The plan was to change, go to dinner. I didn't make it to dinner. I didn't make it to dinner. In fact, I pretty much passed out and kind of ruined the dinner plans that my TO had for me for my birthday. She more than made it up. We made it up at a later date, which was perfectly fine. It was actually, I'm not gonna say it was better than that particular night, but it probably would have been better than that night, considering the condition I was in. And so, had a nice, amazing dinner, a makeup day for my birthday a couple weeks ago, and it was just a great day. Now, part I don't know 3 of my birthday weekend was supposed to be um, that dinner, but then also there was also a massage that was planned. The Eagles were playing, I believe, the first round of the playoffs, so we were playing the Rams, I believe, and no, it wasn't the Rams. I forget who it was. We were playing somebody, and Mateo got me a massage. Now, I will say, because of the game being moved, so the Eagles got flexed. I believe it was the last game of the season then. So the Eagles got flexed to a different time, kind of threw everything off. Mateo had to kind of rearrange the massage, and it was my first and only time I've ever been massaged by a man. It was awkward, cannot lie. Normally I fall asleep during massages, especially ones that are that long. I just couldn't do it. I did go through the massage. It was very awkward. I probably never, ever, 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 ever do it again. But it was the thought that counts. I actually do a decent job. It's not my cup of tea. It's just not my cup of tea. So I got back home, and mind you, I'm still in pretty bad shape. But when I walk in the door, some of my closest friends are there waiting for me. My brother drove 4 hours, 4.5 hours from where he lives to surprise me. All my, a good amount of my friends surprised me for a birthday kind of football watch party. Mateo had it catered. It was just an amazing day. It took me a minute because I still was not in a great position, to enjoy it. But once I got into that position, I really enjoyed the time spent with my friends and some of my family. So it was really, really, really cool. And then for New Year's, we just, relaxed. Got sushi, kind of chilled on the couch, watched the ball drop, which I haven't actually sat and done, I think, in a couple years. And so that was kind of, very low key, very chill, very, other generation-ish. Definitely not the current generation. They want to be down there dropping the ball amongst all those people. And no, I can't do that. Like the older I get, the more I find that when it comes to my birthday, I just want to enjoy the beach. I just want to spend time with friends and family. And it's somewhere in between, I'm in this place where it's between my youth and me being out in a club, doing shots all day, binge drinking on the beach, whatever. And I'm somewhere between that and my dad, who just kind of wants ice cream. Although this year he had lemon meringue pie, some cookies, and something else, and did all types of foolishness to his stomach to the point where I had to bring him some Alka-Seltzer. But that's what happens when you're 80 plus years old and you just binge on sugar, it sounds like, at 11, 12 o'clock at night. But he's good now. Little Alka-Seltzer, he's all good. But I'm somewhere in between, wanting to go do what I actually did this time, which was go bar, drinking, friends, having one of those nights, and really just kind of, let's go fly to the beach and hang out, drink, or don't. But I just want to be on a beach somewhere detached from the normal buzz, normal day-to-day traffic, all that stuff, and just put me on the beach and I'm good. So we'll see what happens this year. There's a lot of things potentially happening this year, which I'm very excited about. So how I celebrate my birthday at the end of the year, assuming I'm still here, will be interesting to see. Because depending on how this year goes, maybe reprioritizing how I spend my birthday. Let's just say that. Before I get to the last thing in my head, Dave's Head Podcast is now a part of the Alive Podcast Network, home of Black voices, where community, culture, and creatives live. Dave's Head Podcast adds to the catalog of over 70 titles available on the Alive Podcast Network and the app for both iOS and Android. Check out Dave's Head Podcast and many others in the Alive Podcast Network application on iOS and Android. Alive Podcast Network, the home of Black voices. The last thing that's on my mind is obviously EAGLES Eagles. My Philadelphia Eagles won Super Bowl licks, LIX. We're just saying Super Bowl licks. 40-22 over the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if you watch the game, know a little bit about football, somewhere in between, you realize 40-22 does not even give you an indication of how bad of a blowout it was. This game was not that close. And that's an 18-point victory. It wasn't that close. It was 34-0 at one point. And as much as I'm happy about the Eagles winning their second Super Bowl in my lifetime, and I'm just happy to see my city celebrate. I'm happy for all the ups and downs and criticism and all that stuff that's happened with my team and for my team and against my team and all that stuff. I'm most happy for Jalen Hurts. You know me a little bit. I'm Roll Tide, Alabama Crimson Tide fan for a long time. Jalen Hurts at one point played for Alabama and left to go to Oklahoma, was drafted in the second round by my Eagles, unseated Carson Wentz, former quarterback for the Eagles, for his position. And after that first year, very slow start. That happens, rookies and young quarterbacks. After that, a pretty remarkable, stunning record. And to me, Jalen deserves the respect he didn't get from a lot of people. A little fun fact side story real quick. There's a certain individual I went to junior high, elementary school, grew up with in South Philly. We kind of had back and forth on social media for a little bit about Jalen Hurts, where basically he was anything and everything Jalen did was doing wrong. He's never going to give us a Super Bowl. He was one of those critics. where Jalen will never get us a Super Bowl victory. He will never win anything for us. He's horrible. He just everything they said about him bad, he encompassed that in the way he spoke about Jalen. And I was opposite. I've always believed in Jalen. I said Jalen can get us. He's a winner. That's all he does. All the positives you hear about Jalen, I was that guy. And so things got a little weird, so I wound up actually disconnecting from him socially. But it's one of those things where it's just the narrative is repeated so much, the disrespect was repeated so much that it became this divide. It almost became as bad as Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. It almost became that type of beef between pro Jalen Hurts people and con Jalen Hurts people. And no matter how much fact, this is why the parallel is there between that politics and all that. No matter how many facts you provided, no matter how many stats you provided, no matter how many times a W was a result of games, there were people who still were unhappy. And one of the arguments I made is that the main thing is the main thing. And it's something that Jalen says, something I've been saying, something friends of mine have been saying for a long time. You got to keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing when it comes to football and team sports is winning. Football is the ultimate team sport. And so if there are 11 guys on offense and 10 of them are pulling their weight and one of them isn't, it's the responsibility of the other 10 to pull the weight of the one who can't right now. That's what team sports is about. When one falls down, the others pick them up. You work together collectively to win the play, to win the quarter, to win the half, to win the game, to win. And no matter how much winning Jalen and the Eagles did this year, there were people who didn't like how those wins happened. And what I kept reiterating is the main thing is the main thing, which is winning. It doesn't have to win the way you want to, because one thing you can't change is that the win is the result. Some fun stats real quick. Since week 5, Jalen Hurts, 36 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 36 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Now remember that, since week 5, which is basically the bye week for the Eagles. 36 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. During that time, highly, highly criticized. Think about how ridiculous that is. 36 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, but you don't like the way those 36 touchdowns and 2 interceptions are happening. Only quarterback in history, and this is the Super Bowl, throw for 200, rush for 70, throw multiple touchdowns in the game, complete 75% of his passes, average 10 yards per attempt passing, and win the game. Only quarterback in history. One of the things that people criticized Jalen the most about was, well, the Eagles are a stacked roster. They have all this talent. And one of the things that I said, and it's kind of cool to hear some of the talking heads on TV kind of say this point and reiterate this point over the last couple of days, and even I heard it before the Super Bowl, that people talk about the talent on the team, but Joe Montana, and I believe this is still true. If I fact check and it's still somehow not true, I'll correct myself. Joe Montana played with more Pro Bowlers than any other quarterback in NFL history. Tell me the last time you heard anyone say that Joe Montana was only good because of the talent around him. Again, it's a team sport. Steve Young. Go back to Steve Young. Before he became a San Francisco 49er quarterback, you may or may not remember, he was on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm talking about the orange and white helmet Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was horrible. Suddenly he goes to San Fran. He's surrounded by talent, and guess what? Now he's pulling monkeys off his back in the Super Bowl, getting victory, if you remember that video. So I'm most happy for Jalen. I'm extremely happy, obviously, for the entire team. It's my team. Football is my thing. The Eagles are my thing. And so my quarterback is my thing. I'm not going to cry like T.O., but that's my quarterback. And so I'm happy that Jalen got to shut a lot of people up. There's a lot of humble pie on network TV this week. And so I'm happy to see it. There's some humble pie on social media as well. There's a lot of people still standing firm despite the performance in the Super Bowl. And I will say, Kansas City, a lot of the country just didn't want Kansas City to win. They didn't want to see the three-peat. They were tired of Kansas City winning. And I get all that. What most irritated me about Kansas City, because I'm a big Andy Reid fan, even though he had his shortcomings here, he learned when he went to Kansas City. He got his W's in the Super Bowls. Congratulations to him. One of my favorite Eagles coaches of all time still, even though I had my gripes with him. What really bothered me was Kansas City saying things like they were going to trademark three-peat and do all these things as if they'd already won, as if Philadelphia was just another step. And that turns out infuriated a lot of the defense, infuriated a lot of the team. It was bulletin board material, as they say in football. You don't want to give the opponent bulletin board material. Well, they gave the Eagles a pretty big piece of material to stick on a bulletin board. And unfortunately, they couldn't back it up. Unfortunately for them, great for us. So congratulations to Super Bowl Licks. We're going to keep calling it Super Bowl Licks. Super Bowl Licks winning Philadelphia Eagles. It's a Philly thing. We're proud of our team. And that's what's in my head. If you've been a follower, listener, watcher of Dave's Head Podcast throughout the seasons, again, season 6 premiere is where we're at right now. Like season 2, we're going to kick off this season with a more direct conversation with me. Normally this would be where I have a guest, but as we did in season 2, we're going to have a dialogue with just me for this episode. Towards the end of season 5, I talked about what I thought this country might look like by the time this season 6, premiered. But by the time we come back in February, we'll have a new president. All signs so far are pointing to our country being an entire circus. At this point, the last month has been a long year. I'll say that again. At this point, this month has been a long year. Inauguration Day wasn't even a month ago. And so much has happened to challenge the idea or this notion that this country is the example for the world, from picking fights with allies, i.e. Canada, Mexico, making threats to take Greenland. Like what? And the Panama Canal, because we should mess that up somehow. It's only a valuable resource for trade in a lot of places. To leaving health organizations that have responsibilities to coordinate responses and planning and research and distribution and so many things around the world, leaving those organizations. And this doesn't even include Musk and his apparent influence on this narrative and situation with South Africa that we're seen to be starting right now. And so what do we actually do, or what can we do to survive the next 4 years? Again, because it's another 4 years we've got to survive. If you're familiar with Chat GPT, I decided to pose a question to Chat GPT just to see what the answer might be to the question, what 5 things can someone do to survive the next 4 years of Trump? And how can we ensure democracy isn't lost before then? I'll repeat that. What 5 things can someone do to survive the next 4 years of Trump? And how can we ensure democracy isn't lost before then? And now I put this to Chat GPT. The results can be anything and everything. Remember, this tool, AI tool, scrapes the internet, other sources for information, producing a result. And so what it came back with is 5 things that I think are actually really poignant and on point. And I'll start with this. Navigating the next 4 years under Trump requires, according to this answer, proactive engagement and resilience. Think about those 2 terms. Proactive engagement. Now, that shouldn't really be different from anything that's happened for you, I would hope, the last 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, 20 years. I've noted before that my political experience started in 2000. That's the first time I voted, first time I really paid attention as a young adult to politics. And from then it's only grown, right? Starting getting my feet wet in politics in 2000, well, a year later was 9/11. And so they kind of ramped up everything from politics to government to security, you name it. All those things became part of my world instantly, and I'm sure a lot of people's worlds throughout this country. And so proactive engagement became manifested through research, looking at individual politicians, local, state, and government, instead of voting a particular party. I stopped doing that a long time ago. Now, I've made some mistakes, of course, like I'm sure we all have. But doing the research, looking at individuals, not just pulling one lever, and really being engaged in meetings, being engaged in town halls, being engaged in filling out online polls, and doing all those types of things that you can do outside of simply just going to a voting booth. I've even considered running for political office in the future. Still not a no. It's still out there. It's a possibility. We'll see. And so resilience is something that, depending on what side of the fence you sit on politically, you need more or less of. Depending on your lifestyle, how you live your life, you need more or less of. And depending on how these next 4 years go, resilience may be more important than proactive engagement. Because, like I said, the last month or so has been a long year. There's a lot that's happened in just that time since January 20th. I mean, think about that. We're not even a full month, even by the time this episode drops, in this administration, and you have a long list of things that have happened that I can do 15 episodes on, just on the things that happened in less than a month. And so here are 5 actions that individuals can take to endure this period, and help safeguard democracy. Chat GPT's answer. First one, stay informed and distribute factual information. Now, this has been frustrating for a long time. I like to say politics started down the road to where it's at now in 2007, 2008, when a black man by the name of Barack Hussein Obama, decided he wanted to run for president. And it really, the fact-telling, fact absorption, and fact sharing began this downward spiral. And it became a nickname or catchphrase type of political world, fake news and socialism, and all these terms out there to just fearmonger, scare, distort facts, all these things. We're trapped in this thing right now. And so it's interesting that this is the first suggestion that was provided. So the description is simple. Regularly consult reputable news sources to stay updated on political developments. Share accurate information, within your community to counteract misinformation. Very noble answer. I rock with it the entire way. It's very difficult these days. It's very hard to get across to people that simply searching online, looking at news sources is enough to receive factual information, be able to share factual information, and have others absorb factual information. It's the whisper down the line game you used to play in gym class, right? You start with a 5-word sentence or something like that. You tell one person, it goes around a class. By the time it comes back to you, not even close to anything that you said, not even probably like any of the 5 words you actually said are still part of the sentence. We're in such a space where there's so much about very, very simple things. Very, very simple things. Take executive orders, for instance, right? We can go back to a time in 2008 to 2016 during Obama's 2 terms when executive orders were looked at as dictatorship, right? The fact that Obama did any executive orders was viewed as a dictatorship by Obama. I lost track of how many how many executive orders that the current president has signed, and we're less than a month in. I'm willing to bet they rival an entire term of either Biden or Obama, maybe even Bush, if you go back that far, just in the past month. And so the trouble is staying informed factually and accurately because there's so much misinformation out there. The Twitter X's, the Facebooks, the Instagram. It's very easy. And now that the fact checking is a thing of the past because those things don't happen anymore, you have to really work to find factual information and understand the ability you have and possibility you have to actually fact check it yourself to verify its accuracy. That's a lot of steps people have to take just to confirm that something they heard or see is true. There's not a lot of people that want to do that. It's much easier to believe people you like are telling you the truth, even when they aren't, whether you know they aren't or not. The other side of that, it becomes a very dismissive conversation when you prove someone wrong, you prove someone's being lied to, when you prove the information they're sharing is not true. It becomes a very dismissive thing. Well, that may be true, but this person did this, or that may be true, but this isn't. False. It's very hard to start a conversation on a foundation of facts with people who don't care if they're getting factual information or not. That's where we are right now. A war of facts. What are real facts? What are not real facts? Who cares about facts? Who doesn't care about facts? So staying informed is a very difficult concept, and that's just the first one. Number 2, engage in local and state politics. 100% agree. Attend your meetings, meet your local and state politicians when you can. This way you can actually share factual information about their plan, their campaign, their actions, what they're doing, what they're planning to do, who they are, all these things. They say advocate for progressive policies at the local and state levels. Now, I'll take progressive out of there because it doesn't have to necessarily be progressive. It has to be respectful policies and respectful to all life. That may be a progressive topic, may not be. There's certain things that are conservative that I'm actually okay with. Not many more progressive, but I'm also okay with a certain subset of conservative things as well. Participate in community meetings, like I just said, support local candidates who uphold democratic values. I'll push this back and say, uphold your values, fair values, respectful values to all humanity, and push for legislation to protect civil liberties. Now, you would think that last portion of that sentence would be something every single person in this country would get behind, right? Civil rights, civil liberties should be something we all can agree on. Every single person in this country deserves human rights, civil rights, deserves liberty, the ability to breathe, the ability to live their life as they see fit. For some reason, that's a very, very contentious topic. Number 3, support vulnerable communities. This is important. Offer assistance to marginalized groups, including undocumented immigrants, LGBTQ plus individuals who may face increased challenges. This can involve volunteering, donating to relevant organizations, or providing direct support to affected individuals. Now, I will say, undocumented immigrants, I understand the plight that they're in. However, there is a way to come through the door the correct way. But I also understand that there are a lot of corporations in this country that make their living, make their money on the backs of undocumented immigrants. And so if you want to supposedly fight this battle of immigration, first of all, you've got to include all immigrants, not just immigrants of a certain race, number 1. Because there are immigrants that are not from Mexico who are actually more prevalent in this country than you think. They're not being targeted, and that's a problem. Number 2, if you're really serious about curbing immigration and having legal pathways for everyone, then you'll do something about the companies that are utilizing undocumented immigrants to secure and produce business, product, and make money. Because there's a lot of them out there. If you're serious about this issue, it won't just be somebody looks like them, they gotta go. That can't be the answer. And when it comes to individual rights, I am a 100% proponent of whatever you want to do with your body is your choice. However you want to live your life is your choice. My one and only rule has been and will continue to always be, you can do whatever, be whoever, live however you want, so long as it does not negatively impact any other person. LGBTQ plus individuals don't negatively impact me. They just don't. Technically, illegal or undocumented immigrants don't really negatively impact me. But we're talking about not immigrants. We're talking about transgenders. We're talking about this whole narrative that's around, reading, somehow reading books is now a big problem. Telling factual history, by the way, doesn't negatively impact me either. The fact that we can't talk about factual American history anymore because there are certain people that are hurt by that. Don't want to hear that anymore. Picking and choosing which history is relevant, which ones or which portions of history aren't. Number 4, promote worker solidarity. Encourage and participate in labor actions that advocate for workers' rights and economic justice. Collective bargaining and solidarity can serve as a powerful tool against policies that undermine democratic principles. There's a lot going on with the government right now where there are a lot of government employees who may be and find themselves without a job. The early retirement, forced retirement, whatever that title is for that deferred termination, we'll call it agreed termination, that's being forced down government workers' throats right now, was blocked. I think I saw today it was allowed to proceed. My big concern there is very simple. The current president doesn't have a great reputation when it comes to actually paying what he's agreed to pay. And so my concern, if I worked in government, which thankfully I don't in this period in time, and I know a number of people that do, and I'm concerned and empathetic to their situation right now, or concerned about and empathetic to their situation right now. My concern, though, is those who may accept this early deferment, I think they are calling it, and never see a single penny. Because that's the way that the current president has existed, not paying their debts. And this is nothing breaking news. It's documented. There are cases that have gone through courts where he wasn't paying for contractors. He wasn't paying his debt. So this isn't brand new. But my concern is there's going to be a huge, huge, huge amount of people that are unemployed looking for jobs. And if you know what that does, when you have a ton of people looking for work, it kind of drives down salaries, which means increased profits or even more increased profits for those at the top of the pyramid in corporations. It also means a lot of people filing for unemployment if they allow that to continue. A lot of people tapping into Social Security, maybe earlier than they planned. Drain on the system. There's a lot of dominoes that'll come from this early deferment if a lot of people decide to take it. Again, we're in trillions in debt. Billions at least. Probably trillions in debt. This is going to cost us more. I'm not an economist. I'm pretty damn good at math. It's going to cost us. It's going to set us back for a long time. Number 5, maintain hope and community engagement. Foster supportive networks to combat feelings of fear and defeatism. I haven't heard that word in a while. Building and nurturing communities committed to justice and equality can provide strength and resistance during challenging times. It's very difficult to find hope, and we've only been a few weeks in. Like I said, these few weeks or so have been a long year. The farther we get throughout this year, the more things that can possibly happen. And so the difficulty with staying engaged, maintaining hope, is that we exist in a time frame where every single day there's an alert for something that Trump is doing or something that Musk is doing. I know people have turned off their notifications already. We're not a month in. Turn them off. It's every single day. What damage are they going to do today? And so I'd say that when you look at how to get through these next 4 years, how to protect democracy, one of the things not mentioned in any of those answers is looking at the financial side of things. If you're not financially comfortable, stable, have a savings, have a 401k, have an IRA, have stocks, have uh, Bitcoin and all that stuff that's going on around right now, where you can possibly increase your net worth and your retirement capabilities, that's going to add to so much more stress in your life. Stress is bad. Stress is a killer. And so reducing the amount of stress, even outside of being either aware of or impacted by the things that this administration is doing, there are things that you can do outside of what's happening in this administration that you kind of need to have to do at this point. Do an audit of your finances. Look at the things that you're spending and wasting money on. Ways to conserve energy, ways to meal prep, save more money at the grocery store. Prices of things are just going up. I thought this election was about egg prices and gasoline. Those things are both going up already. We're not a month in. But you have to take the opportunity while you still can to reevaluate things that you should be preparing for. Emergency fund, 401k. You know, if you run into financial hardship, can you take a loan out on your 401k? Do you have an emergency fund? Do you have stocks? Crypto coin, something that you can sell to get you out of a hardship. Where's your waste at? Right now, I spend $10 a month on a gym I haven't been to in over a year. It's $120 a year. It's not crazy expensive, but in the grand scheme of things, you never know where that $120 could be useful. Now I work out at home, so that's kind of why. But look at those 5 things. Staying informed, distribute factual information. Number 2, engage in local and state politics. 3, support vulnerable communities, even yourself in that number if that's you. Vulnerable can be financial as well. It's not mentioned there, but it could be financial. You could be a check-to-check person. Support your ability to survive this 4 years if it becomes a financial hardship. Number 4, promote worker solidarity. And 5, maintain hope and community engagement. Those 5 things are useful, but you got to look at your situation and what it is that you can survive. Can you lose your job tomorrow? Can your spouse? You just never know. You never know. Next episode, we'll have our normal guests for this segment. We've got them lined up for the next 2-3 months. Trust me, we got some great people. We're going to talk about D&I. We're going to talk about families and family trees and lineages and all types of things. I can't wait to start our guest segments back with the next episode. But for now, I wanted to talk a little bit more personally about this issue, how it impacts me, how it impacts you, and how we can get through this together. So hopefully those tips helped you out. Despite the current state of our country, the Philadelphia Eagles, my Philadelphia Eagles, it's a Philly thing, again, as always. That guy right up there, Jalen Hurts, see him on the wall? If you're watching on YouTube or a Spotify video, he's permanent for this season. Right there, right next to Obama, right above me. A little petty, I get it. I'm giving a slight finger to those who doubted Jalen with it by having him up there. I get it. It's intentional. But they've created excitement this year. Many Eagles fans around the world will have a unique opportunity the day this episode actually drops. Celebrating the Eagles Super Bowl win with a parade on Valentine's Day. Now, while this may seem like an amazing day to some people, if you're dating someone who is not into football, or dare I say it, not an Eagles fan, this could pose a problem. And so I wanted to give you, as part of my GRIN, 3 ways to still make this a great Valentine's Day and celebrate the Eagles Super Bowl with your spouse. So the first one, I think, is a great testament to their flexibility, their love for you, maybe even love for the team if they're an Eagles fan. I'd say the number 1 option for this, negotiate moving the plans to the day after Valentine's Day. I get it. the day after Valentine's Day is considered quote unquote Single Awareness Day. True, that's what it is. But it doesn't have to be. Talk through the benefit of having a full weekend day to enjoy all the Valentine's Day plans. You don't have to worry about going to work. You don't worry about, getting up early to do this, do that. No worrying about before and after plans. It's Saturday. You can do all the plans you want to do or not do, but you can make Saturday as special and beautiful as you can because you get the whole day. Now, the caveat is, if you do go to Super Bowl parade on Valentine's Day, on Friday, you can't get so hammered that you're non-functional on Saturday. You got to still keep it together in some capacity. Hydrate a little bit so that you can wake up and fully participate in your new Valentine's Day. Because if you're hungover and a mess, it's not going to go well. So that's the first option. Number 2 is if Saturday doesn't fly. So if Saturday doesn't fly and it has to be on Friday, here's what I say. Break out your abacus, your protractor, your TI-85. I'm going way back. And figure out how you can properly time this thing. Time your experience for the parade. Getting out of the area and to wherever you have to go to shower. Yes, you will have to shower because you'll be around a bunch of funky people drinking, pissing, throwing up, screaming, all type stuff. Wherever you need to be to change, shower and change to be ready for your V-Day plans on Friday. Figure that all out. Noting, public transportation is going to be a mess. Parking is going to be a mess. Trying to figure out how close you, if you want to drive, how close you can get and park and still be able to get in and out of the crowd. Maybe don't go down by the art museum. Maybe just hang out on Broad Street, wave to the team, and book yourself back home. Whatever it is. Now, hopefully you did, or maybe if you listen to this episode early enough on Valentine's Day, you have time to plan something special if your spouse, for example, is off on Friday, off on Valentine's Day. Maybe you could plan something while you're going to the parade and get back home after the plans are done, shower change, baby, let's go out, whatever. A massage, a spa, nails, whatever. Those are the ideas. If they're not free, maybe do something so that something's waiting for them at home or something's delivered to the job if they are going into the office. Or even better, if they're not going into the office, maybe prepare breakfast for them before you go to the parade. Have flowers delivered while you're at the parade. Listen, got game for you. Come on. But that's option number 2. Now, option number 3. If moving the day isn't an option, if attending and getting back doesn't work, then maybe you just got to bite the bullet. Record the television broadcast of the parade and show love to your spouse that day. Now, I get it. This may be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Now, I went to the first Super Bowl parade a couple years ago, went with my sister, met 2 good friends down there, actually. Went with one of my best friends as well, my sister, who passed away a couple years later. So it was a great experience to have with him before he passed away. And actually, you might remember him, Chaka Williams, right there. If you're looking on Spotify, YouTube, you can see me pointing to him right there. We went to the parade together. And so I get it. It may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but you may be in a once-in-a-lifetime relationship with a once-in-a-lifetime partner. And is it the end of the world if you're not attending in person? No. In the world of DVRs, you can record it and watch it at your leisure anytime you want to. Like the NFL wrote in the end zone for the Super Bowl, choose love, right? If it just doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I get it. This may be your first time seeing the Eagles. Well, probably not because they won a couple years ago, but it may be first time in your adult life, right? Maybe you were away in school or something the first time they won. But choose love. Now, this doesn't just apply to Super Bowl parade. If in life there are many choices that require prioritization and sacrificing for the bigger picture. Selfless acts of love are not only the building blocks of sustainability in relationships, but they reap goodwill and they reap rewards. Some of us refer to points, right? Scoring some points with my girl, scoring some points with my wife. Well, this will rack up some points. for the right person. They have to be understanding, whether it's option 1, 2, or 3. They have to be someone willing to compromise as well. But depending on flexibility, timing, what's going on that day, you didn't know when you planned things or when they set aside time for the plans that the Eagles were going to win Super Bowl and have the parade on Valentine's Day. And so you've got to compromise and work things out. So either negotiate moving into the next day, go see the parade, and get your ass back home with plenty of time to make sure you can still carry out your plans, or say you know what, I'll watch this one on TV next weekend whenever I want to. Choose love. Last season, I started something where at the end of my grin, I would give you a quote, leave you with a quote to end the episode. I think with Valentine's Day approaching and our conversation about the Super Bowl, making choices, prioritizing, choosing love, I think this one's appropriate. It's an anonymous quote, and it goes like this. Love is not about how many days, months, or years you've been together. Love is about how much you love each other every day. And it's anonymous. I did try to find an author for that. There just is one. It's actually listed as anonymous. So choosing love, loving each other every day, is exactly what this time of year is about. So Eagles, 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 resilience, and choosing love. All great reasons to be in love with now. That's all for this episode of Dave's Head. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm sure you'll love similar content in the Alive Podcast Network app. Plus, you can support this podcast and enjoy ad-free listening to nearly 100 other Black-hosted podcasts. Download the iOS or Android app, become a member, and experience unlimited access to Black-hosted content week after week. Follow, like, and or subscribe to this podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and or X at Dave's Head Pod, and on YouTube at Dave's Head Podcast. For more information and links to all things Dave's Head, check out our website at daveshead.card.co. Episode premiere on the 2nd and 4th Fridays of the month. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, enjoy life because life should be fun. Take care.